Well, we're here at Senator Mikulski's office in Fells Point because even though Marylanders have clearly said that we're opposed to U.S. attacking Syria, Mikulski is voting, has said that she would vote for U.S. to go in further into Syria and actually bomb and attack Syria. And we want to call attention to that. Her top funders are Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin, the military-industrial complex. So she's not representing Maryland. She's representing those people. And the reason I'm here as a physician is that all of these issues are connected. We need to stop intervening in other countries. We need to stop killing other people, exploiting them, and poisoning the planet. We need to take those dollars and use them here in the United States to build up our own programs for housing and jobs and healthcare and education, and start to have a real shift in our foreign policy away from U.S. aggression, U.S. intervention, dismantling of democratic governments. We need to start being cooperative and using diplomacy instead of military force.
Anything else, Mark?
Well, just like we have to take the profit out of healthcare, we have to take the profit out of war, and then it won't be anymore. Simple as that.
Thanks so much.
Well, Barbara Mikulski says she heard from the people of Maryland. They strongly opposed the war, yet she supported it. And she's out of step with the American people, and we want her to know that's not acceptable, that she won't get our votes in the future. And it's really an amazing moment in our history where the people have actually stopped a war after the president said he wanted to bomb a country. That is the first time that's happened. And so it's hopefully a beginning of a new perspective, a new change in direction on U.S. foreign policy. The Syrians have not threatened us, and there are appropriate methods to deal with chemical weapons. There's a chemical weapons protocol that the U.S. is a signatory to that we could follow, and that does not authorize war. Certainly not by one country without UN approval, but even so, under the chemical weapons protocol, a country that violates that protocol gets taken to the international court, international criminal court, and it's investigated, and if there's proof, they're prosecuted. We should act within the rule of law. What President Obama opposed was an illegal war. And no matter what the Congress did, this was still an illegal war under the international law of the United Nations, and it should not have been pursued. And so we're glad to see that. We've got a pause in it now, but I'm also glad to see people are still pushing to make sure that our representatives vote against war. Exactly. We want Barbara Mikulski to know that she should represent the voters of Maryland who oppose war by resounding numbers. It's not even a close question. And so this is supposedly a representative democracy. She's not supposed to be representing her big contributors in the military-industrial complex. She's supposed to be representing the people, and the people don't want war. And so Barbara Mikulski needs to change course if this comes back to Congress and vote no on war.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Fed up with the wars, one war after another, that are not good for the American people, much less the Syrian people. We've been down this road many times before, and especially with Senator Mikulski. I was down here a couple times 10 years ago, and a lot of other people were down here many more times. She seems to fold wherever the Democratic Party leadership or the oil companies and the banks want to get something done. Senator Mikulski falls right in line. But this time around, the one big difference is that the people are firmly opposed to this. On my way out the door a while ago, I got an email from an old friend of mine, a guy from 40 years ago, who is now a Tea Party sympathizer, lives in Waynesboro, Virginia. And he sent me an email from the Military Times that shows that 3 out of 4 GIs are opposed to this. So it's cut very deeply. People can see that war after war to disrupt and really ruin a number of countries is not solving the problems here in the United States. And President Obama calls that stability, that the United States works for stability around the world. But as I see it, they work for a very different agenda, which seems to have nothing to do with solving the problems here in the United States. One of the big factors in all this is the distraction factor. We've got problems here. We have a G20 summit going on that's going to yield nothing for the American people. We got the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, which is a disaster for the American people. We have a president who will look you in the eye and say there will be no public sector jobs program in this country as sorely as we need it. And on down the line. Haven't heard anything about Edward Snowden for the last couple of weeks because this is at the top of the news.
I'm Max Obashevsky. I'm with the Pledge of Resistance, Baltimore. And we've obviously got to stop another attempt at using military conflict to solve a problem. Some of us were here back in '02, right outside this same office, because we were putting pressure on Senator Mikulski and also Senator Sarbanes not to vote for an invasion of Iraq that the Bush administration was promoting. And remarkably, the fact is, both Barbara Mikulski and Senator Sarbanes voted against the resolution. And also remarkably, my congressperson, Elijah Cummings, also voted against the resolution. And Ben Cardin was a representative at the time. He voted against the resolution. Now, that was a Republican president. Now, every one of those names that I mentioned, except for Paul Sarbanes, who's retired, but his son is a representative, and there was a meeting in Washington with him on Tuesday to promote this idea, no, this is not the way to solve this problem. And he's still on the fence. No one will meet with us. Mikulski has refused to meet with us for this particular situation. Cardin has refused to meet with us. Elijah Cummings, my congressperson, has refused to meet with us. It's astonishing. And every one of them will tell you that anywhere from 90 to 95% of the people that contacted their office is against this crazy madness.
She confessed that.
Yeah, all of them know this. The people have spoken. Why are the elites being listened to? The warmongers, but not the people. And I'm not talking just about the peace and justice people. We're always against war. But the average person is against this military madness. And there's little doubt in my mind that one of the reasons why these folks are voting for war against Syria is because it's what Israel wants. There's little doubt in my mind that any type of attack on Syria is probably an attack on Iran. And that's what Israel wants. I mean, many people have been stunned to find out recently, in the last 2 days, that the United States is giving all intelligence to Israeli. All intelligence, even though Pollard is sitting in prison now for stealing secrets from the United States. It's astonishing to me to have read that. Not surprising, though. $3.1 billion tax dollars go to Israel every year. And what do they do with that money? It's to buy U.S. weapons. So this whole war, stock prices are going up for people like Lockheed Martin and others because war is good business. It's not good business for the Syrian people, to say the least. My heart bleeds for those folks. I was so glad to see Juan Cole talking about this because nobody else has talked about this. I've sent a letter to the editor. The Bush administration did rendition on A.N.W.E.R at JFK. He was a Canadian citizen. He'd been in Tunisia. He'd visited his family in Tunisia. He was going home to Canada. He was renditioned. Where was he taken? He was taken to Syria. He was tortured. He was an ally of the United States. These folks never learned. Saddam Hussein, allied. We had the dictator Manuel Noriega, U.S. ally. And then they get crisscrossed, and the same thing's going to happen to this dictator in Syria. So we have to speak out. We have to stop this. We have to save lives. We have to save tax dollars.
And the report is that some of these rebels, so-called rebels in Syria, are attached to Al-Qaeda. And we're supporting these people.
Well, as some of us would argue, this is a proxy war. We have Saudi Arabia, obviously the most notorious human rights abuser in the Middle East, and very close to China, which I consider number one at human rights abuse. Saudi Arabia's got to be in the top five, and we're working with them on this. This is a country where women can't drive, where they cut people's hands off for quote-unquote criminal activity, where They bring in people from other countries and abuse them when they hire them as maids or whatever it is. And we're supporting this country. There's no democracy there at all. We know in that particular case, it happens to be that Saudi Arabia has lots of oil. So we've got to keep going. I'm very, very much encouraged, though, that the peace community and others stop, at least temporarily, this war. This is unheard of. I can't remember in my memory this happening before. Possibly it has. I don't remember it. So if we can continue to do this and call for diplomacy, we have to have a peace conference, and most importantly, we got to help those 2 million refugees. One cruise missile goes for something like $200 million. Imagine if you took that money, besides bringing it here to Baltimore, we desperately need it for bridges, for roads, for rec centers, for libraries, if that money could be used to help the refugees.
You mentioned the refugees, Max, in Syria. I don't know what the exact count is, but many of them came from Iraq, and they were Christians who survived under Saddam. But when the war broke out, they had to get out, and they went to Syria, and they were given a haven there, a safe haven. But it's awful. They're an awful fate. Now they're moving into Turkey.
Well, it's the same thing, as you well know, in Egypt. The Coptic Christians, just in one setting, they burned like 12 of their churches there. People who are stuck in the middle. They don't want to support a dictatorship. They don't want to support the military, but they don't want to support a Muslim Brotherhood that I didn't see any attempt at all at any type of democracy in Egypt. But the issue really is, in all of these cases, the United States cannot get involved when they're not interested in diplomatic endeavors.
Okay, Max, thanks so much.
No problem.